What is happening? What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Concussion Discussion. I think this is episode 10. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm your host, Austin Sherlock. You guys know that by now. I appreciate it. So, big episode this week. Big card, big weekend of fights. We had the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship debut, which I got to interview the CEO, David Feldman, 2 episodes ago. Great guy. Good to see them succeeding, doing big things. We'll get into that a little bit later. Then we had UFC Utica. That was on Friday. Some good fights there. Not a great card, but there were some good fights, some good finishes. And then I've got, I think, one of my favorite people in the MMA world, Erik. He's the CEO, president, owner, founder, call him what you want, of top-rated MMA. So they have their own store. He has his own show. He was gracious enough to have me on his show when I first started out, probably after the second or third episode. He had me on. I'm a giant fan of his work, and hopefully he can be a fan of mine. And then we have UFC 225 coming up in Chicago, and I'm bummed that I couldn't be home for this one, because I would love to be in the Chicago area and watch some good fights. And this is really the biggest fight card of the year, in my opinion. This fight card is absolutely stacked. So, a lot to get into, but I'm super excited about this one. And thank you guys again, seriously, for tuning into this one. It's episode 10, so it's a little bit of a milestone, I guess, for me. So, yeah, I guess let's just get into it. So let's talk about UFC Utica. So we had Marlon Moraes versus Jimmy Rivera. That was the headliner. And then we had Walt Harris versus Daniel Spitz. Not a whole lot of great fights. Sam Alvey fought Jean Vellante. To talk about that fight really quick, I actually thought Jean Vellante won, especially Jean Vellante was the hometown guy. I had Jean Vellante 2-1, but the hometown judges gave it to Sam Alvey, which I was surprised. But it was a good fight. I guess Sam Alvey might move in to the top 15 at 205, because I think Jean Vellante was ranked number 14 at light heavyweight going into this fight. So I guess you've got to move Sam Alvey back in, but that division outside of the top 3 is kind of weak, so who knows. Then we had Walt Harris, Daniel Spitz, some heavyweights. Walt Harris, kind of a salty record. I think he's now 11-7. The fight before this, he fought Fabricio Verdum. Kind of got thrown to the wolves a little bit early. And Walt Harris ends up knocking him out in the second round, I believe. Looked good, though. And then you had Marlon Moraes, Jimmy Rivera, and yeah, man, I picked this fight, and I said I thought that Jimmy Rivera, he had won 20 in a row. I thought that Jimmy Rivera would go out there and get it done via unanimous decision, but I also said I will not be surprised if Marlon Moraes knocks him out. And sure enough, 30 seconds into the fight, Marlon Moraes throws a giant switch kick, lands flush on the temple to Jimmy Rivera, and knocks him out. Took some punches afterwards, but yeah, knocked him out. So what's really next for Marlon Moraes, and this is the only thing that makes sense for me, is he either gets a title shot against TJ Dillashaw, the winner of TJ versus Cody. That's coming up in August, or he fights Dominic Cruz. I think any fight against Dominic Cruz is a big fight, or if he really wants to wait it out against, to fight the winner of TJ versus Cody, he could definitely do that too. So he definitely has options. Looking forward to that one. Then you had Jose Torres. He made his debut in the UFC. It was a weird fight. He definitely lost the first round. He got dropped. He's a 2-time world champion in his previous fight promotion, and then he comes over to the UFC, debuts at 125 pounds, gets knocked down in the first round against Jared Brooks, and then Jose Torres is definitely winning the second round, I thought. And then Jared Brooks is moving forward, tries to take him down, and he does get him up on his shoulders, but instead of just dropping him immediately to get the takedown, Jared Brooks kind of carries him around the octagon and then drops him. That actually knocked out Jared Torres. Jared Brooks. And then Jose Torres saw that he was out, took his back, landed some punches into the fight. Not the ideal UFC debut that you want, but he looked good. It sucks. I don't know what's next for him. Maybe you give him a top 15 guy, but we will see. Now let's jump into some current events. So one big thing, probably the biggest thing, I'll start off early here, is Yair Rodriguez is back. He is set to fight Zabit Magomedsharipov at UFC 228 in September. So if you guys remember, the UFC and Dana White announced that Zabit and Yair Rodriguez was a done deal for UFC 227 in LA, and Yair tweeted back, said hashtag fake news, and Dana White replied back, hashtag real news, and then they just got rid of Yair Rodriguez. They cut him from the UFC. They fired him. And I was so fired up about this because, how are you going to take a 25-year-old kid for the most part and just get him out of your promotion? It makes no sense. But anyways, apparently they are on good terms now, and that fight is happening. I don't like the fight for Yair. I think it's a terrible matchup, and he's fighting Zabit, who's an absolute savage. But it is what it is. I'm glad that the guy's employed. I guess that's the most important thing here. Then we have Andrea Lee, her husband. So Andrea Lee, she fought at UFC 224, I believe, was her last fight. She looked good. She ended up winning the fight, but her husband, in the past few days, there's a picture floating around on social media to where he has a swastika on one arm, and then he has like the two S's. I don't remember what they're called. I don't really have my master's in racism, so excuse me there. But he's got these tattoos, very Nazi, very neo-Nazi, and they have serviced online, and so obviously, you've got this new UFC star in the making, and Andrea Lee, and her husband has these tattoos, which draws a lot of questions. And he came out and said, "Look, I'm sorry. I'm not racist. I'm not this piece of shit that you guys are portraying me to be." But he was in prison when he was like 20. Yada yada yada, and for certain reasons, he says he can't get him covered up or removed. I don't know what those reasons are. It seems weird that he won't get him removed or covered up, but at the end of the day, I've never been to prison, and I can imagine it's a crazy, crazy place. So who knows? But if there is anyone that is following the story, it's okay to judge the husband. Don't judge Andrea Lee, right? Because I don't think that this is an indication that she is racist, right? Like, it's obvious he made some bad decisions, some poor decisions, but I wouldn't just label her as racist or anything like that, especially being in the UFC where it's a world-class organization. That if you're racist, it's not in the business for you. So that's that one. And then the last one, talk some bare knuckle fighting. So as you guys recall, I had the bare knuckle fighting CEO president David Feldman on the podcast a few episodes ago. He gave the full breakdown of bare knuckle fighting, what it was, what the rule set was, etc. They did it in Cheyenne, Wyoming. The pay-per-view was $40, I believe, $30 or $40, and holy hell was it worth $30 or $40. It was very, very fun to watch. Definitely room for improvement, and that's not a knock on them. But some of the things, some of the commentators, Antonio Tarver, he kind of got on my nerves a little bit at times. But really, overall, it was a really good card. You had some big names on there. You had Joey Beltran, you had Rico Rodriguez, you had Beck Rawlings. You had a lot of big, big names on there, which is awesome. Very, very big start for those guys. I actually texted David today, and I said, hey, man, congrats on all the success. And it was well worth the money. And he texted me back immediately and thanked me and thanked me for having him on the show. And he wants to come back on the show. So shout out to him. Shout out to that whole crew over there. They're doing very, very big things. There were a few things I didn't like personally, but I guess that's not really my call. It's not my promotion. But when he gets back on the podcast, I'll ask him then. So good for them. If you haven't seen those fights, it's very interesting. It was fun. So I think that covers all of the current events. I guess let's get into the interview that I did with top-rated MMA owner Erik Allen. Hope you guys enjoy. So right now I'm being joined on the show by Erik Allen. He's the owner, CEO, president, call him what you want, of Top Rated MMA. I've had the pleasure of being on his show, and I've got to pick his brain. So I consider him a buddy. Erik, how are you, bud?
I'm doing good, Austin. Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Of course, man. Just trying to return the favor. I got some good feedback from being on your show, so hopefully you get the same from mine. So
sweet.
I guess we'll just start, man. Tell your story. Where, why, when did you start Top Rated MMA? What do you guys do, etc.?
Cool. Yeah, so, I think MMA started, I just got asked this question earlier today, actually, on another show. It's kind of funny. But yeah, so I think MMA for me started at a very young age. I grew up watching, Jake the Snake and Hulk Hogan and Macho Man down in the wrestling days, right? And then me and a cousin used to walk to the VHS rental store. We would rent this thing called UFC on VHS. It was the UFC 1 and 2 in the early days. And I got hooked, man. I had an older cousin that went down trained with Royce Gracie down in Brazil, and kind of followed it through all through my childhood and into my adult years. And sitting around the house in 2012 and looking at my wife going, hey, how do we try to make some side money? Well, I really like MMA. And so my wife came up with the name Top Rated MMA, and we really put this thing together. We launched really just kind of with a couple grand in the pocket, and we made some mistakes. But when we started, we wanted it to be an avenue to give back. We're not about taking all the money for ourselves. We very much wanted to be able to help charities and whatnot. And so we had reached out to Hire Heroes USA, which actually was started by Brian Stan. And so we got a hold of them. They had just launched as well. And so we got official partnership stuff from those guys. We actually donate 25% of all of our profits made through our website to them every single month. And so what we did is we partnered with brands. So we partnered with Grunt Style. We partnered with Alpha Outpost. We partnered with the UFC store, Everlast, Bottle Breacher. So our main focus is MMA brands and veteran-owned businesses, because we just love to give back to both. And so we committed to giving 25% of all of our profits to Hire Heroes USA. We also give 5% of our profits to the Fight Book MMA Fighter Sponsorship Program, because we want to be able to help out fighters that are the up-and-comers for hotel and travel and gear. And so that was something new that we just launched just about a month ago, and it's been great. We love to just give back. And so, like I said, for us, it's not about the money. It's for us to be able to just have fun and enjoy MMA as a sport. And I love hearing the stories of fighters, and that's really what drives us to be successful. And we haven't had our own branded products for a few years now, but we're actually in the production of finalizing designs. And so we'll have shirts and hoodies, t-shirts and hats at least by the end of this year. And then we'll probably expand that going into next year.
Well, I'm a little bummed out, Erik, because I had about 6 questions written down, follow-on questions, and you just hit every one of them. So
that's awesome.
I appreciate that. No, I'm
sorry.
No, it's all right, man. No, it's all good. So a few things though, because as an active duty guy myself, I'm curious, where did the passion for the Hire Heroes and, any sort of veteran community, where did that come from?
It's a great question. And I think it was in my later years, and I really do kick myself almost on a daily basis, really, because I got one call from a recruiter when I was 18 years old, and I was an extremely pothead, druggy kid at 18 years old and didn't want anything to do with service or, I was a conspiracy theorist. Oh, you guys don't share enough information with us, and, whatever, like just a bunch of bull crap, right? And so I would rather go smoke a bong than go join the Army. And that was my thing. Like, I just didn't want anything to do with it. It wasn't that I didn't like veterans or like what they were doing. I just didn't like necessarily the information that I got as an 18-year-old kid. I was a little punk, Anyway, so as I grew older, I started to appreciate it a lot more. And so that's when I really wanted to just be involved with them as much as I can. And, a lot of people ask me if I'm a veteran. No, I'm not. But I love to give back, and I love to be part of that veteran community as much as I can. I wish I was part of that brotherhood. But since I'm not, I want to do everything that I can to make sure that they're successful, that we're helping out them as much as we can. And they know that we appreciate them. Me and my wife and my kids, anytime that we're out at any store, my kids are 8 and 5, and they know that if there's someone in a uniform, we're going up to them and we're going to say thank you. And they just do that. They do it automatically.
That's cool, man. And as a, like I said, active duty veteran, myself, to hear something like that, that's really cool, because that is not the norm in 2018. It seems at times. Not that we need it, or but it's a nice gesture, So
yeah,
definitely what you do and what you do for Hire Heroes. That's absolutely remarkable, man. So thank you for that. Now I'm all emotional, and I got to do the rest of this interview, and I've got funny feelings in my throat,
Uh-oh.
No, that's cool, man. And then, talk about the Fight Book MMA stuff. So obviously you and I are both a part of that team. I write for them. They kind of endorse this podcast and your show as well. So the fighter sponsorship program, talk to the listeners through that.
Yeah, so what it is, and Roberto had this set up for a while, and I think he's going to be updating the website with some more information on this, but it's really a program where they can accept donations. People want to give back to the MMA community, where there's these fighters that they're up-and-comers. Maybe they're getting offered a show or to go fight in another town, but they can't afford the hotel or something like that, or that's what that fightership program is really designed to do, is designed to help them. Now, obviously, they're not going to be able to help, 500 fighters a month, or, but they might be able to help one fighter a month get a hotel, or maybe get new gear, like Josh Danger Mayer that was on my show recently.
Yep.
He got his gear stolen out of his work van, and part of that program bought him new gear, which Rudy, that's also part of Fight Book MMA, was able to kind of put together and send him out brand new gear. So pretty cool thing that Roberto put together on that. And so I just love being able to give back, and that was an opportunity for me to give back to the MMA community. And so I jumped on board, and when Roberto was on my show, I told him for the first time, like live during the show, that, hey, I'm going to give you guys 5% of all of our sales.
Yeah, I saw that. His reaction was priceless. His face was just, you could tell he was just completely blown away by it. So it's good, man. And, the team over there is awesome, and everyone's so supportive. And I feel like that's rare, in which you and I have talked about a lot, that everyone is out for their own. No one wants to help each other with contacts, with interviews, getting a hold of these fighters sometime. It's not easy, but it's nice to have guys like in our little team that can share the wealth. People listen to my podcast in the team, and they're asking me, what I'm doing, and then I'm just kind of bouncing those questions off of you, saying, what are you doing? So, but no, it's enjoyable, man. So that's great. And then a few other things. So you made me answer some questions and didn't give me a heads up. So I'm going to do the same with you. All right. Favorite and least favorite fighters. You can name a few. You don't have to pick one.
I really like. I've always liked Sam Alvey, but I really am liking him lately. One of my. I'd say I put him up there with one of my favorites. I know that people hate the Diaz brothers. I've always liked Nate Diaz. As kind of my favorite fighters there. I'll say my most annoying fighters are Conor McGregor for sure, number one, Colby Covington, and that new guy, Danis.
Oh, Dylan Danis can calm down a little bit. I will say, I think last time you and I talked, I said that I agreed with you on the Covington thing.
Yeah.
I'm oddly kind of starting to fall in love with the guy. I enjoy it. It's so corny. It's better than Chael Sonnen, not as good as Conor McGregor, but I kind of like it. And what I said with Colby Covington, and I think this is what you have to say, is if you were going to be that outspoken and that crazy, you better run through that wall at full speed and don't stop. Right? You can't pick a side. So I like that he picked the bad guy, and he's not trying to go back. He's just saying, you know what, screw it. I'm taking this thing full bore, and it obviously got him into an interim title shot. Because if you look at the quality of his opponents, good but not great,
Sure.
So very interesting. And then, this might rule the rest of our, possible friendship that we have going on. If you come over to my house and I've got an 1.5 inch ribeye, and I say, "How do you want this done? How do you like your steak done?" What's your answer?
Do I like it medium rare?
Okay, we're good. Oh, thank God. Okay. Yeah. We're fine then.
Yeah.
If you said well done, we wouldn't have posted this at all. I would have deleted you, unfollowed you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. So, thoughts on Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship? Do you think that it brings the sport back 15, 20 years, or do you think that it's a new realm that could be explored?
I thought that and I didn't watch it live. I've watched a lot of the videos from the night, and I thought that the way that they did it, the way that they promoted it, was amazing. They did a great job. The production was
damn good.
Yeah,
I was very impressed.
Great fights. The Bobby Gunn thing kind of was weird to me, but every other fight that I saw was awesome. I don't think it sets back MMA. I think MMA in itself is evolving, right? And so you used to have just the UFC as the kingpin out there, and you're starting to see these guys go, I don't really want to be part of this, even though they might offer me a bunch of money. But you talk to the guys who are on the lower end, the prelims, they're not making a ton of money. When they can go to Bellator and get paid sponsored money more than they were making as a show money at the UFC, right? So you're seeing this involvement of people leaving the UFC, going to Bellator, going to LFA,
Ryzen.
And I think it's something new. Yeah, right? And I think it's something new and exciting for fight fans to go, this is true fighting. Like this, it's still not getting in there and they hate each other. It's same thing as fighting. And they're still showing respect after the fights. I think they're going to do awesome. I think the promotion will take off. They'll get out of that 2,000 person venue, right, that they had their first show in. I think they'll probably grow. I mean, who knows, right? It's in Wyoming, so they're only going to be in Wyoming. So I'm sure that they'll bring on and move on to larger venues at some point. I think the sport itself, like I said, is evolving, and I really do like the bare knuckle fighting. I'm okay with it. It's controlled. It's not street fighting. If it's street fighting, I'm not a big fan of that. But if it's controlled, it's in a ring, there's rules, right? I'm okay with that. Fair
enough. And I mean, when I was talking to Dave in one of the prior episodes, I asked him, I said, how the hell are you getting these big names? How are you reaching out to these guys? He said, I'm not reaching out to them. They're reaching out to me. And I was lost for words. So that's crazy. And then before we get you out of here, the last thing really quick.
Yeah.
This is why I wanted to have you on UFC 225. It's, I think, probably the most stat card so far of the year. I'm looking at it right now. So do you mind doing some picks with me?
Yeah, of course, man. Absolutely. I've been really sucking it up on my picks lately, but I will give you my best shot.
Yeah, my last one wasn't good. Usually they're pretty good, but All right, so Joey Benavidez and Pettis.
Yeah, I got Benavidez winning with a decision.
Me too. And then Ricardo Lamas and Mirsad Bektik.
This was a tough one for me.
Right. This
I
is
like
the hardest.
Ricardo Lamas. Yeah, I do. I like Ricardo Lamas a lot, man. He's tough. He doesn't really. I mean, he goes in there with aggression. I like this. But here's my thing: is every time I've picked against a Russian or a Bosnian dude, I lose every single time. So I have to go with I have to go with Bektik on this, only because of my past picking experience. If I don't pick the Russian or the Bosnian guy, I usually lose.
Okay, that's fair. I don't dislike the mindset behind it. And then we got Claudia Gadeja versus Carla Esparza. Great fight. Great fight.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I think this will be a great fight. I think it'll be a barn burner. I do think that Claudia brings the table much better stand up, much more aggression to the cage. I don't know that Carla, she was Invicta champ, so she's obviously tough. She brings that wrestling background. I just don't see her beating Claudia in this. I think Claudia wins.
This is an interesting fight in my mind because, Claudia was the first ever strawweight champ.
Right.
So, and then you have, Carla Esparza was, and then Claudia has fought for the belt, but hasn't got there yet. So, but I'm on your side. I definitely have Claudia as well. And then Overeem and Curtis Blades.
I used to really hate Overeem. I just always thought he was just kind of this weird, cocky guy that would get in the cage, and he wasn't really that good or that impressive. Back in the Pride days, he was good, right? But I think since he's made the transition to UFC, his career's been up and down. Blades has been on fire. I also think Overeem's chin has gone out lately.
Yes, sir.
The last couple of years. So I'm going to give it to Blades on this one.
By what means?
I think he'll knock him out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Bold prediction.
I think he'll catch him.
Okay.
Yeah. I would, if I was even to throw out a round, I'd say a knockout in round 2.
Okay. All right. I like it. And then I'm not going to call him by his stupid wrestling name. Phil Brooks versus Jackson. I'm not calling him. This is not wrestling. Your name is Phil Brooks, you turd.
That there's issues with the UFC when they put CM Punk or Phil Brooks on the main card, and you got like Benavidez and Evans.
Yeah,
and Smith
they demoted Overeem and
Right?
Blades. They demoted Overeem, and then Dana White said, "Well, if you sell pay-per-views like CM Punk does, I just said it, damn it." But it's hard not to say. That's what he said, not my words. But it's annoying, but it sells pay-per-views, and he's from Chicago, so it makes sense. So who you got?
You know what? I think CM Punk will win, and here's why.
Oh my Lord! Fight. His name is Phil Brooks.
It's a setup fight. Oh yes, see, I have the UFC fight card up on my screen right now. So I'm just reading it up. So I got Phil Brooks winning this fight. I think it's a setup win for him. I mean, the guy's fighting a journalist. Nothing against Mike Jackson; he's a great journalist. But he's 0-1 as an MMA fighter that he lost to another guy.
Mickey Gall, who CM Punk lost to. Phil Brooks, I called him CM Punk again.
So I think, in my opinion, I think Brooks wins this. I think it's a setup win. I don't think it'll go all 3. I think, I see Jackson getting subbed. I don't know why, but that's just, I see that I think this is a whole setup fight. It's a setup win for Brooks. Either way.
You're saying that it's like choreographed? You're saying that there's some nefarious activities going on?
I don't know if there's nefarious activities going on, but I think that they wouldn't put Brooks on the main card of this stacked of a card if they weren't going to give him the win.
Especially in the hometown.
Especially his hometown. And not to say that he's not getting in there and he hasn't been training, he's doing good. But the person they're putting him up against, they have matching records, but I don't think Mike Jackson's been fighting since goal, right? I mean, he's been out there talking to people. Maybe he's been fighting on the regional cards, but in my opinion, Mike Jackson's a great journalist. He's not that good of a fighter. And so I see Punk getting this win. Either way, I think Yeah, I think Brooks wins either sub or decision.
Damn it, Eric, you called him CM Punk again. No, I'm just kidding. I keep doing it.
I'm going to
too.
start doing 10 push-ups every time I do that.
And then real quick, I know I got to get you out of here soon.
Yeah,
Arlovsky versus Tai Tuivasa. I love this fight. I think this is a big one, big opportunity for Tai Tuivasa, because if he can beat a guy like Andre Arlovsky, very, very big deal. But if Arlovsky wins, he's right there back in the mix.
I agree. Yeah. I kind of feel Arlovsky is very similar to Overeem on his chin.
The chin's going for sure.
The chin's going. I like Arlovsky, man. He's a great fighter. I love watching him fight. I don't know if he'll win this fight, only because you look at Tuivasa, or however you say his last name. Tuivasa, 9-0. Yeah, pretty much. He's 9-0, and 100% of his fights have been by knockout, or wins have been knockout. I think he's the bigger guy. I think that if he lands a shot on Arlovsky, even if it's semi-clean, Arlovsky goes out. I
agree. And then Holly Holm and Megan Anderson. Damn it, UFC. They don't even have a picture of Megan Anderson. It's just a silhouette. This is a world-class fighter, guys. Gee, this bothers me to no end. Oh,
this is the debate that I've been asking people on my show for the last month and a half. I also am wondering if it's Megan or Megan. I don't know.
It's Megan. It's Megan.
Is it Megan? Okay, I got correct.
It's Megan because that's what I call her, and I think I'm right all the time. So
that's awesome.
I don't know how much stock you want to put in that.
Here's my thing with her is I like Anderson. I think she did awesome in Invicta. I think she's had too long of a layoff, and this is too big of a debut for her to come in and beat Holly Holm with her stand-up boxing. Now, Anderson may come in and do the takedown, but I have Holm winning this fight. I think I even predicted a knockout on it. Just because of that long layoff. Otherwise, I'd probably put more oomph on the Anderson side, but I think Holm's going to take this win.
Fair enough. And then Dos Anjos and your boy, who you love, Colby Covington.
So, due to my lack of love for Covington, I do have Dos Anjos winning this fight, but I do think it will go all three.
No, it's five rounds. It's a title fight.
Oh, is it five?
Yeah, it's a title fight.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Remember, it's the interim.
I do think Dos Anjos will still win via decision.
Okay.
I don't think he'll finish him.
And then Whitaker Romero.
I got Whitaker.
I like it. That's fair.
I think Whitaker wins. I just think... I mean, Yoel's a bad dude, right? I mean, they both are, but I just see Whitaker taking the win off this one.
All right, man. And I know you got to go time now, but give us a shout out for your social media and your website and everything. I want everyone to be able to hear this and check your stuff out.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you again, Austin, for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. TopRatedMMA.com. It's Top Rated MMA on Twitter, Instagram. You can find us on Top Rated MMA on Facebook. I think the page is actually spelled out, so Top Rated Mixed Martial Arts, if you were to just go there, but you can do a search and find us there. 25% of all our profits go to Hire Heroes USA. 5% goes back into the MMA community for Fight Book, MMA's fighter sponsorship program. But again, Austin, man, it's been a pleasure and honor to always be on your show, dude, anytime. And I'm looking forward to meeting you here in a couple weeks, man.
Next weekend, right?
Sunday, yeah.
So I will, I almost forgot to bring it up on the show. We actually get to meet in person. You're coming to the D.C. area. I'm driving down. We're going to get dinner. It's going to be a good time. Like I said, man, thank you again for having me on your show. Thanks for coming on mine. I know you're busy, so take care, brother.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Austin. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. So there it was with the interview with Erik Allen. He is the owner, president of Top Rated MMA. They're doing a lot of good stuff over there, man. They the fact that they give 25% of all their sales to Hire Heroes, and then the 5% to the Fight Book MMA. Our team couldn't ask for a nicer guy, man, and he's definitely one of the good guys. And what I will give to Erik, and we didn't talk too much about it on the phone, but Erik is always, he's been doing this for a while, and I have a lot of questions and I have a lot to learn. And if I have any questions, I will, shoot Erik a message and he'll get back to me immediately. He doesn't ask for anything of me. He just is a true believer that us MMA folks need to stick together. He actually sent me that hashtag one day, and I'd never seen it. Said MMA folks stick together, and greatly appreciate it from that guy. He's definitely one of the good guys, and hopefully, we can do it again. I can get back on his show. He can get back on here. Who knows what the future holds? So you guys heard his picks for UFC 225. So I guess it's my turn to do picks for UFC 225. The most stacked card of the year for sure. So we've got Joseph Benavidez and Pettis. I'll take Benavidez via unanimous decision. Carter Lamas, Mirsad Bektik. Holy crap, that's a scrap right there. But I will take Lamas via second round KO. But that's a tough fight. I like both those guys. Then you have Claudia Gadelha versus Carla Esparza. Here, I think Claudia's stand up in her wrestling. I think she's stronger almost everywhere. So I will take Claudia Gadelha via. I'll take her via unanimous decision. Goes all 3 rounds. Then you've got Overeem versus Curtis Blades. Holy shit, this is a fun fight. I don't agree with Erik saying that Blades knocks him out. I think Overeem, he definitely has power. He definitely has a stand-up advantage. But I think that Blades can withstand that, take him down, and grind out a unanimous decision. Then you have Phil Brooks. Jesus Christ. People keep calling him CM Punk, and the UFC's doing the same thing. I get it. That's what's marketable because he's a former professional wrestler, but Jesus Christ, his name is Phil Brooks. And Mike Jackson. I don't know, man. It's a professional wrestler versus a MMA journalist. I hope Mike Jackson wins. I don't want CM Punk to win because we're going to have all these wrestling fans saying, oh my gosh, look, a professional wrestler can make it, because they're going to use the Brock Lesnar and now Phil Brooks, a.k.a. CM Punk. They're going to use that as an example, and it's a terrible example because there's a lot of asterisks there, but I hope Jackson gets it done. Arlovsky versus Tuivasa. Look, I think Erik hit it on the head. Arlovsky's chin is deteriorating for sure. Tai Tuivasa, or Tai-Vasa, whatever he called it. I think Tuivasa gets it done, and I'll say Tai Tuivasa via second round KO. Then Holly Holm versus Megan Anderson, not Megan. I will take, Jesus Christ, UFC. Get a picture of this girl on your damn website. She's a good-looking chick, and she's a world-class fighter. That's why she's fighting Holly Holm, the girl that head kicked Ronda Rousey into Jupiter. You're having Megan Anderson fight Holly Holm, and you don't have a picture for her. Anyways, I will take Megan Anderson by unanimous decision. Then you've got Rafael dos Anjos and Colby Covington. Probably the hardest fight to pick. Dos Anjos' stand-up is way, way better. But Colby Covington, world-class wrestler. The last time we saw Dos Anjos get really ragdolled and dealt with, it was against Khabib. Granted, that was 4 years ago. Dos Anjos has gone on a tear since then. He won the 155-pound title. This is for the welterweight interim strap. But I will still take Colby Covington for this one. Yeah, I'm good with that. And then Whitaker and Romero. Gosh, this whole card is absolutely stacked, man. This fight is 50-50 for me. They fought before. Robert Whitaker got it done in a decision. But for this one, you know what? Because I'm hopeful, I will take Yoel Romero. I think he goes all 5 rounds. I think he gets it done via decision, close decision. And I said I'm doing this being hopeful because I want to see a third fight between these two gentlemen. So, that's it, guys. That covers UFC Utica. Got to talk to Erik of Top Rated MMA. Got to cover some bare knuckle fighting stuff. Covered UFC 225. Guys, remember we're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, everything. We're on Instagram at The Concussion Discussion. Working on making a Facebook page. We'll get there. I'm being a little lazy, but we'll get there. So, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. And until next time, guys. Cheers.